Playing with rockets is great when you're a kid. But when it's time to get a mortgage, you quickly realize that a rocket is complicated and expensive. It's best to work with an independent mortgage broker instead. They're dedicated to getting you a home loan faster and more affordably. And they're more than just mortgage experts. They live right in your own neighborhood, so you don't have to go it alone. For mortgages that are faster, easier, and more affordable, find a local independent mortgage broker near you.
Hello, I am Jason Bates, owner of Electrum Financial, where a mortgage is not just a flip of a coin. So if you're looking to purchase or refinance in the state of Arizona, please reach out to me. I'd love to help you with that. So tell your friends and family. And if you enjoy this episode or this show or the content that I'm providing, please reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. All right, so I came across an article here this past week, or weekend, I should say, and it really kind of upset me, and I want to share it here with you. Now, in all fairness, I'm an open and reasonable person. I am open to new ideas when it comes to housing. I'm open to getting more affordable housing. In fact, I've been saying that if you've been following this channel or following me as a person, I've been saying it for quite some time that affordable housing is a problem in the United States. And in certain states, it's more of a problem than other states, for sure. So I came across this article here, and I want to share it with you. Let me bring it up here and let's dive right into this, because this is a hot topic. I got my blood boiling, and you'll see why here in just a second. So let's bring it up here. So is it time to decolonize housing? Let's pull this article up here and let's take a look. So I highlighted some of the stuff here on this article that really kind of stuck out to me. First things first, according to Jackie Fielder, Kettle Lakota, and I don't even know how to say that, Hadassah, who is a queer Latina and former candidate for the California State Senate in San Francisco, the cause of California's housing inequities is far bigger than COVID-19. Now, can I just say something here real quick? This article already kind of got me fuming at the beginning. I don't care that she's queer. I don't care that she's Latina. I don't care. I care about the idea. What's the idea here? Let's hear the idea. But I wanted to read that to you because it kind of set the tone for the entire article on this. So, all right, where are we at here? It stretches back to colonization when she said, in quotes, the commodification of housing, the idea that one should only be housed if one has enough resources to pay for it, began to take hold in this land. Instead, Fielder proposes a housing market based on need, not profit. Even before the pandemic, approximately 53% of California renters spent more than a third of their household income on rent, with about a quarter spending more than half on it. People of color and working class renters are particularly likely to face this hardship. Meanwhile, California's intense real estate speculation only increases gentrification and displacement. Why has everything got to be about race? I mean, I know this is my 2 cents, and maybe I don't know, privileged. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I don't think so. I grew up in a modest household, and it's never about race. It's like either you can afford to pay it or you can't. And if you can't afford it, then, in all fairness, things do change. Everything changes. People's lives change. Jobs change. Obviously, the pandemic and state of California shutting everything down. That definitely put a hamper on the income coming in. No question about it. But that's not a race thing. That's a people thing. That's an American thing. That's a California thing. But I bring this article up because this could spread into other parts of the country. This California, seems to have a little bit of a magnet to it when it comes to the rest of the country, them in New York. And what happens on those coasts seems to just kind of filter into the heartland of America. So they test the waters on the coast, and then it kind of slowly seeps inland a little bit. So this is why this article is so important. But I thought I'd give some background there on her and this article. But let's dive into the meat and potatoes of this article, because it does get interesting. What is the housing crisis in California? Question. I highlighted the questions here in blue because I thought they were fair questions that were asked of her. The crisis that most renters are what we call rent burdened, quote unquote, which means that they are paying more than 30% of their income on rent. And that was before the pandemic. Now that we have thousands of people who are facing eviction and also the daunting responsibility of paying all the rent that they may have missed in the months of the pandemic, during the pandemic, which they are not employed. Gentrification in some areas is also the housing crisis. That's been the case for low-income communities of color here in San Francisco and across California. Gentrification is basically the process of low-income, working-class people being forced to move anywhere cheaper than their current communities, which are then exploited by real estate developers to sell to newer, wealthier, largely whiter class of professionals. If we continue to ignore the realities of the gentrification and displacement have caused, we're not going to be able to reach our goals of affordable housing for everyone. Whoa, let's stop the horses there. It's not about race. It's not about gentrification. It's about incentivizing builders who are for profit to make more affordable housing. And part of the profit that the builders need to make is they've got a lot of hurdles, should say, in the way, in the form of your state government that you ran for Senate-wise, lawmakers, that they have to jump through to make affordable housing, which drives up the cost of that affordable housing intent. Therefore, when the cost, all the red tape, all the BS that comes into building a house in a certain area, building a community in a certain area, if they've got all those costs with attorney fees and everything else that goes along with just flattening the land so that they can do what they need to do, build houses environmentally, environmental aspects of building a house, then guess what? That cost is passed down to the homeowner. So give the builders, eliminate some of the red tape that everybody has and these builders have. Lumber prices are going sky high, crazy what's happening there. So incentivize the builders, and I guarantee you they will build affordable housing. Let's continue on. What is causing this housing crisis? It's a problem of disinvestment from the federal and state governments in developing truly affordable housing. We've entrusted the development of housing to the private markets, which are largely Wall Street backed, and we have a glut of luxury homes, thousands of vacant units across the state where we need thousands of affordable units. Housing also faces challenges of remaining affordable. If, for example, a private equity group on Wall Street decides to purchase a building, it will be long lost to the private market instead of being maintained at affordable prices. Hey, no disagreement here. No disagreement on that. So incentivize. Make laws, elect officials who look at the real problem. Don't try to mask it with some other kind of throwing money at the problem. That's not going to fix the problem. It's my 2 cents, but go to the heart of the problem. Give the incentive to the builders, and I guarantee you they will cut prices and in fact, make the incentive based on them cutting prices. If you're going to give $1 million to a builder, then the builder cuts $1 million of their costs and therefore has to sell a price or home at a certain price level starting out, or can't go above a certain price level. There's many different ways to kind of rule that or govern that, if you will. But there are ways to handle that situation. Got to get with the builders. Okay, let's continue on here. You see the nation's housing crisis. You see the nation's housing crisis as a problem that is not new to the United States, but instead it's rooted in its founding. What can history teach us about the current moment we're in now in terms of housing equity? I always tell people before there were skyscrapers in San Francisco, before there were paved roads and this whole infrastructure, before really settler colonization, there was an entire existing society here. There were more than 15 million people here before any settler set foot on this continent. In the time leading up to the settler colonization, there were an entire society of people who understood to allocate resources in a way where everyone had housing, and healthcare was a guarantee. Whoa, okay, let's talk about that. As long as every individual to their ability contributed to society. To me, housing has been and is a guaranteed right, especially when we're talking about indigenous cultures. But that's not but that's not guaranteed in this current economic system because it is a vehicle for profit maximizing and speculation. I don't know about healthcare, when you're living in the colonies, I don't know if that was the right. You had to, doctor house calls, whatever, but you gotta think of the fur traders and things like that. They get a cut out in the woods. Do they go see a doctor? They get their hand caught in a trap somewhere. Did they go see a doctor? Is that a right? No, it's a privilege. Healthcare is a privilege. Housing is a privilege. That is what this country is all about, is having privileges, and you have to work for them. Now, there are people who don't have the ability to work for one reason or another. I'm not saying they should be homeless. I'm not saying they should be kicked out on the street. That's not the issue. There needs to be space for those individuals who cannot work, but you walk a dangerous line when you create housing for everyone where they don't have to work, because then what is society actually producing? If I have a food on my table and a roof over my head, do I need to work? And I got a TV and I got a cell phone and I've got all the luxuries of living. Do I need to work? And if I quit working, what's that going to do to society? This is a very, very dangerous proposal, in my opinion, because of those factors. You need to have the fire in your belly. If you want to be a homeowner, it's not going to be handed to you on a gift platter. You have to get out there and work for it. And I understand the pandemic is something that, we had no control over. And for that, I feel sorry for those who are doing everything they possibly can, but are continually getting shot down because of their state and local governments telling them they cannot work. I've said from the very beginning, this is a right to work country. The government cannot tell you you cannot work. So I don't like these handouts. I hate these handouts. You work hard and then you get rewarded for how hard you work. That's my opinion. We'll continue on. When running for California State Senate, you campaigned on moving to a housing system based on need, not profit. Can you explain the difference between a market-based and a need-based housing system? Whoa, good question. Good question. Market-based housing is what we need now. Where each person is allocated housing according to what they can afford, not necessarily what they need. Here in the Bay Area, that means that there are thousands of people that go without shelter and many that will go without stable, adequate housing in the most basic sense. Housing according to need would be a system in which the government could fund, guarantee, and coordinate the allocation of housing no matter what anyone could afford. Sounds a lot like socialism to me. Listen, this just doesn't work. I can't even believe that this article even gets printed, to be honest with you. I got so fired up on this article. And hey, if you got a different opinion, write your comments below or send me a text or send me an email. I'd love to hear them, and I'd love to have you change my mind, because I'm not getting this article at all. But this is the kind of crap that gets put out on the internet and gets put out there, and then people start to believe it. And then when they start to believe it, the production level of the society goes way down. And when the production level goes down, so does society. When the production level of society is up, society is up. So when you have low unemployment, then you can get housing. No question about it. As jobs go, so does housing. Stop trying to focus on putting everybody in a house. Get them jobs for the ones that can't work, and they'll go get housing. Housing will take care of itself. For those that cannot afford housing, there are support groups, families, things like that. And obviously, I know plenty of friends who have elderly parents that live with them. Not disregarding, there are situations out there, of course. So all you naysayers out there say, what about this situation? What about that situation? I get it. There are situations where society as a whole needs to take care of its people. Totally understand that. But to blanket the entire society with this is ludicrous. It's absolutely insane, and it will do nothing to improve society. Absolutely nothing to improve it. You can see I'm fired up about this. Sorry about that. In your face kind of stuff, but let's continue on with this article here. I don't see any, in my opinion, if housing is a human right, it needs the protection of the federal government and state government to make it so. Yeah. Okay. I don't rely on the government or the state to protect me in any way, shape, or form, other than my borders. Okay. I was in the Marine Corps. I totally get it. But you know what hits the fan? When somebody's trying to rob my house, I'm not going to call, hey, government, can you come fix this for me? No. I take care. At some point, you got to take care of yourself. You have to. Why haven't elected politicians done more to address the housing crisis in California? Good question. For people who actually have the power, I don't think they could care any less. Hey, I agree with you. I agree with you on that statement. Don't lose me now. Don't lose me. They accept money from the real estate lobbies, and those real estate lobbies are really pushing to make sure that they have power to evict people, even in a pandemic, even without just cause. Until politicians reject that kind of money, they're not going to be in a position to negotiate on behalf of everyday people. I don't care what political party any elected official is in. If they're not advocating for canceling rent or mortgages, they're leaving everyone else hanging in the dust. I actually do think that people will be left to languish in the streets unless there's some gigantic protest movement. But I don't know if that will materialize. Yeah, so I'm not, I don't know about a protest. I don't know if a protest needs to happen. I do think we're having protests for the past year, and there is some movement, obviously, with what's happening politically in our country. The movement, there's a lot of political mess out there for sure. I don't think a protest is something that is going to fix this issue. Again, look at the root of the problem. Why aren't builders building more affordable homes? Why aren't builders building $100,000 homes? When we look at the waterfall of housing, a lot of first-time home buyers go into new homes, and new home salespeople or sales companies, I guess, or whatever, new home builders offer incentives to help with down payment, to help with closing costs, these sort of things. And when you have mature trees and you've done some particular customization to your home, it's a move-up home, right? Not always, but a lot of people move. I know my progression was I bought my first house, very small house, fixed it up, sold it, bought an existing home. So it's not saying that I'm, the litmus test for everybody out there, but a lot of first-time home buyers go to new builds because of the affordability. New home builders aren't able to build affordable homes. Why? Why is that? Let's address that issue. Not devalue my property because you want to put somebody else in my home. That's exactly what this is wanting to do, is just devalue my property that I worked my life off for. How's that fair? It's not fair. It's not fair. I digress a little bit. All right. Next thing, how might we transition to a need-based housing system? Okay. What's your vision? How do you see this happening? We have to find the funding. Oh, what? Funding? Are you kidding me? It takes money? We have to fund the funding for this? Where's that going to come from? Tax dollars? So you're saying you're going to raise taxes? That's going to help affordability? So when that person does go to work, they got to pay more in taxes and less in their pocket? That's going to help affordability? Okay. I'm following you. I get you. This election cycle, San Francisco passed a ballot measure to increased how much the city could tax the sale of properties worth $10 million. This would provide funding for rent relief and affordable housing for low and middle income people. That's just one such mechanism to do so. Oh yeah? What if nobody sells their house? Then what? What if all the rich people who own $10 million homes say, yeah, I'm not going to sell them. Just going to hang on to it. I got the money. I don't need to sell that property. I'm part of a wave around the nation of politicos and organizers calling for housing to be recognized as a human right and invested in as such. That means committing serious investments to make sure that everyone, not just the wealthy, has decent, safe, affordable housing. The least we can do, the bare minimum, is to ensure a legal right to representation for anyone facing eviction. Another one would be a landlord licensing system to ensure that tenants have access to as much information about landlords as possible, where they decide to pay their income to and live. Okay, so you want to know more about your landlord. Now, I'm not so opposed to that, to be honest with you. there are some shady landlords out there, no question about it. But for you as a tenant to know more about my finances and then determine what you're going to pay, I don't know if she's going with that, or I don't know if there's intent of that. I'm a little confused as to what she's trying to articulate there. But I don't know how knowing more about your landlord, don't you do that when you're finding rent? Don't you ask those questions as a renter? If you don't, you should. Like, hey, what's my grace period? What if I can't pay this month? What can I do here? What can I do there? What happens if this happens? What aren't you asking those questions of your landlord? If you're not, then that's bad. That's just bad consumer. That's being bad a consumer. So now I get it. Some people are just forcing the rent. They take what they can get and move on. I totally understand. That's a small percentage of renters. I don't want to talk small percentages. I want to talk big picture. Big picture here. And now she goes on to say, I think it will take time. Yeah, let's break the ice here and let's start somewhere, right? It will take organizing. It will take much more than just one person getting elected to office, but even informing people and educating them, that is not the only system to live by. It is crucial. It is a crucial aspect of making those big ideas practical. Yeah, I get it. You got to start somewhere. I totally understand. And listen, I'm open to ideas. As I said at the beginning of this video, I'm very open to new ideas. This idea, garbage, absolute garbage, and will do nothing to help with affordable housing. Again, you got to give incentives to the people who are building the homes. You have to do that. Right now, new home starts. I saw an article just last week. Average loan size in the United States, $395,000. That's insane to me. That's absolutely insane. $395,000. My first home, $140,000. So we're talking almost over double. And that was in 1998, I think it was, when I bought my first home. So granted, things are expensive, and they're only going to get more expensive, especially when we talk about, if gas prices go up and other sectors of the economy, grocery bills go up, other things go up. That's going to squeeze on housing, no question about it. So I'm not saying we don't need affordable housing. We certainly need affordable housing, no question in my mind. But this approach here, I don't agree with at all. So with that, if you got comments or you got comments, reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. But if you need to refinance or looking to purchase here in the state of Arizona, I would love to be your lender of choice. Got the lowest rates at the lowest cost in the valley. No questions about it. So reach out to me. I'd love to help you and go over your situation. So until next time, happy house hunting. A little difficult out there, no inventory. And take care. Stay safe, everyone. And I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.